It's a great excuse for like most of your actions. If people question why you do things, you can just be like, this is the way.
Hey girl, what you doing? Hey girl, where are you going? Who's that girl? Who's that girl? Who's that girl? Who's that girl? It's Jordan.
DeSantis.
Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be talking about, yep, you guessed it, The Mandalorian Season 2 so far. Episodes 1 through 4 or chapters 9 through 12. We're not going to get super deep into lore today because we have a lot to cover, but we'll go through a general recap of each of the episodes and then talk about what I think is going to happen for the rest of the season. So anytime we talk about The Mandalorian, I think it's important to talk about timeline. A lot of people were confused in Season 1 if they weren't like hardcore Star Wars enthusiasts, which there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not dissing. I'm just saying that sometimes it's hard to know when things take place, especially because you've got a baby Yoda, and then you've also got like beat up stormtroopers, and nobody really can tell what time it is if you don't actually know. So I'm going to clear that up. It takes place 5 years after Return of the Jedi, which means it's about 30 years before our sequel trilogy, which means it is in between the Empire and the First Order. It also would mean that this baby Yoda is not in fact baby Yoda. It's just a baby of the Yoda species, and we don't actually know a lot about Yoda's species, so it's just easy to say baby Yoda. But actually, we learned in Season 1 that he's about 50 years old, which means he's around the same age as Anakin Skywalker, which is pretty wild to imagine. Of course he's dead now, but whatever, rest in peace. So let's talk about episode 1 or chapter 9, The Marshal. Now this I think was a great season starter. It automatically got my attention because I needed to know where Mando was and I didn't have any idea. It opens on this grungy town and him and the child are walking through. There's graffiti everywhere, and let me tell you, there's Easter eggs galore. There was one that looked like it could have been one of the Fates from season 6 of Clone Wars. There was Darth Vader, C-3PO, Chewbacca, all kinds of stuff. We're not gonna get into it. The graffiti was lit. Mando seems to know exactly where he's going. He's going to speak with the gangster named Gor Koresh. This guy seems to have something up his sleeve the whole time. He's betting on this fight. He wants Mando to stake things on it, blah, blah, blah. And Mando's just like, dude, can you tell me where the rest of the Mandalorians are? I need to find the Jedi so that I can get this child where he belongs. And the guy's like, nah, I'm just gonna kill you for your Beskar armor instead. Haha, tricked ya. I don't understand why people don't learn. I mean, nobody's gonna walk into a fight with the Mandalorian and win. They're just not. If you looked really closely, you'd notice that the henchmen that Gor sent in were Zabraks, which is like a callback to Darth Maul, which was neat, but you know, then they all died. He's not completely useless because he actually heard that there was a Mandalorian scene on Mos Pelgo on Tatooine. Lucky for Mando, he's got friends on Tatooine, so he strings this guy up by his feet and leaves him to be eaten by the wild hounds that we saw their eyes in the beginning. Whatever, I guess. Anyway, we're on Tatooine and we meet a friend, Pelimoto. She's got her Sigourney Weaver looking hair and she's thrilled to see the child. She straight up asked Mando to buy him. Which is questionable. We see another callback to the Phantom Menace with the droids that go to fix his ship, which apparently he's okay with now. Cool, he's growing. Oh, we love to see character growth. She shows him a map of where Mos Pelgo is supposed to be. It's not actually on the map. He has to kind of just go there and hope that something is there. On his way there, he runs into some Tusken Raiders, which, I mean, if you've been watching Star Wars for a long time, you know that interactions with Tusken Raiders almost never go well. But this took a different route, and I really liked it. He was able to communicate with them. He spoke their language, and they shared a meal together, and I thought it was really cool because it was a peaceful interaction with the Tusken Raiders, and as we know, that's not common in Star Wars.
And I slaughtered them like animals.
Yeah. Anyway, he ends up at this town where he ends up at a bar, and someone walks through the door wearing Boba Fett's armor. Now, I go, hold up, that's not Boba Fett. Boba Fett died. He fell into like a pit with a Snorlax, so I butchered that creature's name. But I say, he's dead, who is this? And I'll tell you who it is Cobb Vanth. Mando soon learns that he's not a true Mandalorian because he takes his helmet off, and he's taken aback, completely stops talking, and is extremely offended because it's really offensive to him that someone who isn't a Mandalorian would be wearing Mandalorian armor. And he proceeds to explain that he got the armor, it saved his life. This town was celebrating the fact that the Empire had fallen, and the mining collective didn't waste any time coming in and taking over. They killed a lot of people, and those who survived were essentially slaves. Cobb Vanth managed to steal whatever compartment he could grab off of their speeder, and he ran into the desert. The only reason why he survived was because the Jawas picked him up and were thrilled that he had a canister full of valuable crystals. They gave him water and Boba Fett's armor. He was able to go back to the town and defeat the mining collective. Now, Mando was just about to kill him, and the ground started shaking. Dun dun dun. There is a crate dragon terrorizing the people. It's eating banthas. It's a problem. So they strike up a deal. Armor for dead dragon. And off they go on an adventure. There's a really cool Easter egg if you notice when they're speeding along. It seems as though Cobb Vanth is actually riding Anakin Skywalker's pod racer that's been repurposed to be a speeder. That's pretty cool and creative. Mando is able to negotiate a truce between the raiders and the people of this town so that they can join together to defeat this dragon because it's a problem for both of them. It's not an easy truce, but Mando's able to lead and keep them in check, which I love because this proves that he actually is a really good leader and could possibly be a pivotal role in the future of Mandalore if they decide to go that way with the plot. Anyway, they go to defeat this dragon, lots of stuff happens, and in the end it comes down to Mando and this bantha that has all kinds of explosives on it, and he decides to go inside because the belly is the only weakness and blow it up from the inside and come shooting out of it, and it was so cool. I was thrilled. I said, wow, you can tell this is really high budget. That's not what I was focusing on at the time though, because it's just so fun to watch. I love Star Wars, and I love getting to watch The Mandalorian really be its own thing within this universe. We see that there is a pearl that they find inside of the Great Dragon, which just like a stone that was digested and became a pearl, and a lot of times the stones had kyber crystals in them just naturally, and they become a pearl, and this pearl can actually be used to make a lightsaber. So who knows, maybe Mando will eventually get his own saber. And that's essentially all that happened in episode 1.
False.
But let's move on to episode 2. Oh, we can't move on to episode 2. I forgot like the biggest Easter egg of all. As Mando is driving away on his speeder with the armor of Boba Fett on his speeder, we see none other than Boba Fett. He was watching, so he's alive. I was wrong. I don't know how he survived. There's a lot of theories about it. I can't get into that right now because there's a lot of possibilities, but also, how is he alive and when is he gonna show up again? Episode 2, Chapter 10 was appropriately named The Passenger because there was a passenger involved. I hate using the term filler because I think most of the time everything has purpose, but this did kind of seem a little bit like a filler episode. It was still interesting to watch. This frog lady, Mando had to take her to this planet so that her husband could tell him where Mandalorians were. So it was kind of like a sidebar in a video game where they're like, complete this quest to get to where you're going. So we're like, fine, we have to do it. Fine. I loved this little frog lady. She was just the cutest thing ever. And the whole episode, I was like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, please don't let her die. It started out so chill. And Baby Yoda eating her eggs, by the way, not cool. Was very unhappy with him. And that's how we got that nope. Nope. So we got some cool Easter eggs this episode because we see the Razor Crest, it's flying, and then all of a sudden there are 2 X-Wings on the 2 sides of it, and they're like, license and registration please, and he's like, my ship is pre-Empire, so I don't have any, and they're like, does that check out? And then they're like, yo, this was used in a heist against a Republic prison, so we have to take you in. And he's like, no, I don't think so. They go on to this planet, this ice planet, and there's a big chase, and he seems to have gotten away from them. I would also like to add that one of the X-Wing pilots was in fact Dave Filoni. I don't know how I didn't mention that sooner, because it's Dave Filoni. Anyway, we think he gets away scotch-free, and he falls through the ice, and the ship is just trashed. They wake up, it's freezing, they're trying to figure out what to do. Frog lady wanders off. Oh my gosh, it's like trying to corral cats. He's got to watch Baby Yoda, he's got to watch the frog lady. One or the other is causing trouble some way or another. They go off to find her. He's got his handy dandy little heat vision thing, which leads him to a really hot area, which made me very nervous because that usually means life. Initially, it seems like it's just a hot spring. I, of course, am like, never relax, there is something wrong. As soon as he's helping her corral her eggs that are just stewing in this hot spring with her back into the little tank that she has for them, Baby Yoda wanders off to one of these like mushroom looking things, and it grosses me out, but he opened it and ate the little spider baby that was inside. This was very much like a nod to Alien. I did not like the first Alien because I can't deal with the face suckers. They just bother me so bad. Great film. I'm so bothered by it. And I hate spiders. This whole episode I'm like, my skin is crawling, my skin is crawling. All of these spiders show up because Baby Yoda opened this egg, and so they're running from these spiders, and I'm like, please don't let the frog lady die. And they finally get to the ship, and I'm like, but there's a huge hole in the side. They're not gonna be able to get away. So they go into the ship, and then the spiders go into the ship. They crawl up into the cockpit, and they're like trying to close the doors, and then the frog lady comes in clutch with her own little blaster, and they're able to get the doors closed, and we think, oh my gosh, they might be safe, maybe this can keep the spiders out, but then Big Mama comes punching holes through the glass. So I'm like, great, how the heck are they getting out of this? Dave Filoni and his buddy, the pilots, came up and they come in clutch and they shoot all the spiders, and Mando comes out like, am I under arrest? They say, well, you should be, but it says here that you saved the life of this prison guard guy, which if you were watching last season, you know that was played by Matt Lanter, who's the voice of Anakin Skywalker in the Clone Wars. He saved him, so they were like, we're gonna let you go, but we're not gonna help you fix your ship. He manages to pressurize the cockpit, and they fly away in this rickety ship, and we're left thinking, oh my. Next episode, please. More story, please. It was very much like, did not progress the plot at all, but was certainly fun to watch. Episode 3, Chapter 11, The Heiress. Big episode. A lot went down. Some cool people showed up. Mando arrives on the planet Trask, and there is a beautiful reunion between the frog lady and her husband, and I loved it. It was heartwarming and wonderful, and then he is able to lead Mando to where he could probably ask somebody about where he could find Mandalorians. We have another alien reference when an octopus jumps out of Baby Yoda's soup and latches onto his face, making me very uncomfortable. The information that he received led him to a Quarren, which most of the time Mon Calamari and Quarren go hand in hand. They don't always get along. Most of the time their people are at war with each other, but it appears that they've learned to coexist. The Quarren take him out on their boat, supposedly leading him to the Mandalorians, but then the Quarren turns to Mando or to Din and is like, have you ever seen a mama core feed? And kicks Baby Yoda over this huge mouth coming up to eat fish. Luckily, they close the basket, but Mando jumps right in after to try and save Baby Yoda, of course. And he's drowning and he's struggling because once again, someone wants to kill him for his Beskar armor, and I'm just like, oh my goodness, please, what? He's drowning! All of my frustrations were alleviated when I noticed the Mandalorians that showed up to save him, because I recognized that helmet right away. That's Bo-Katan, and I couldn't have been happier to see her in live action. I was just absolutely thrilled because she's so cool. What's even cooler is that the actress that did her voice played her in live action. That's awesome. We have another moment like we had in the first episode where he's like, they take off their helmets and he's like, where did you get your armor? And Bo-Katan's like, bro, I've had this in my family for 3 generations. And he's all miffed because they took their helmets off, and she realizes, oh, you're a child of the Watch. Which, me having Clone Wars knowledge, I understand that she's talking about Death Watch, which was a radical group of Mandalorians who separated from their government because they didn't want to go with the more peaceful route. And originally Bo was one of them, but she moved forward and wanted to be a leader that accommodated a little bit of both. And they end up striking some kind of deal because Bo can lead him to Jedi, but they're like, we need help getting some stuff off this ship. Well, they kick butt on this ship, and then she's like talking to the captain, and she goes, oh, we're taking the whole ship. And Mando's like, excuse me? I thought we were just taking like a box. No. No backsies. And she's like, yes, backsies. You want info? I need to take this ship. And we see the captain talk to Moff Gideon, and he's like, these are the pirates, so they know that they've been doing this. Apparently they've been ransacking multiple ships, and I wouldn't be surprised if Moff Gideon knew who it was, Bo-Katan, because when we left off in Star Wars Rebels, she had the Darksaber. How Moff Gideon got the Darksaber off of her, we do not know. The captain pulls a Cold War move and bites a thing in his molar that kills him instantly. It's like a cyanide pill, Star Wars version of a cyanide pill. Everybody is dead, and the ship is heading into the ground. And they manage to save it, and they pull up, and hooray, they succeeded. And Bo-Katan tells Mando, it's gotta be one of the biggest character reveals ever. She's like, you need to go to the planet Corvus, and there you will find Ahsoka Tano. Tell her Bo-Katan sent you. And I was like, I'm so excited, but I'm so nervous. I don't know how I feel about live action Ahsoka. And if you know me, you know I love Ahsoka. I've got 2 action figures up over there. I love Ahsoka. She's my favorite Star Wars character. So I just really want it to be good. And I trust Dave Filoni, so I think that he'll do a good job with her. And then the episode ends with him flying away in a ship that was poorly repaired by this Mon Calamari, even though he was given like 1,000 credits. Episode 4, Chapter 12. The Siege. We get a really cute scene of Baby Yoda and Mando fixing the ship in the beginning. It does not go according to plan. We see the Mandalorian lift his helmet. They actually showed him lifting up his helmet to take a sip, which makes me think that maybe he's growing as a character. They decide to stop at Navarro 7 and visit some old friends. We see them land, and they see Cara Dune and Greef Karga, and they greet them friendly, and everybody's happy, but then there's this ominous character who's supposed to fix the ship. And I was like, sus. And it ended up turning out that creature put a homing beacon on his ship, and I was like, well, they weren't really subtle. This is my issue with this season so far, is that it seems like every episode is kind of following the same pattern. Mando shows up somewhere, they need something from him, so it's like I'll help you if you help me, and that's gonna get old, especially when it's like 90% that and only like 10% storyline. I mean, I think that they're so much fun to watch, and I trust Favreau and Filoni. This episode actually gave us a lot to chew on. When we first get to Navarro 7, we walk through the town and we see that the familiar bar where a lot of fights happened last season, it's been turned into a school. We learn that Cara Dune is actually the Marshal of the town. Essentially, they're like, there's this Imperial base way out where, and we need to go get rid of this base. It should be mostly unmanned, and we just need to see what's up. And they show up, and it is far from unmanned. There's lots of manning going on, and they have to just like demolish these stormtroopers, and I mean demolish them. And then they get to the core of what's going on. We see 2 men at a control panel, and as they see Mando and his crew run in, they destroy the panel. And if you look closely, the insignia on their uniform is actually the symbol that cloners wear, and we see test compartments with liquid and suspended bodies. And so obviously this means that they're doing some sort of cloning, and we know they took the child's blood. So if we break it down to its most basic form, it looks like they're trying to make some sort of force-sensitive clones. And this is not the first time that this has been done in the Star Wars universe, especially with the extended sequels talking about Palpatine cloning himself and Snoke supposedly being a clone. And a lot of people actually think that this is pointing directly to Snoke. I don't necessarily believe that that's true. I know a lot of people say that the music that was played was the same music that was played with Snoke, but that was also music that they played during parts of Revenge of the Sith. So it's not a foolproof argument. I'm not against that being the truth. If Favreau and Filoni decide to go there, I'll go there with them, but I kind of like the idea of it not being him, and it's Moff Gideon trying to attain power that he doesn't understand. It's a really interesting arc to watch characters who don't understand power but want nothing but power go after it. Like you've got the Nazis in Raiders of the Lost Ark. They want the power of the Ark of the Covenant, but they don't fully understand it, so their faces melt. It's been shown in past Star Wars video games where Darth Vader's apprentice died and he tried to clone him, and it just doesn't work. There are always negative side effects, and even when a subject lives, the Force takes a toll, because despite a high M count, a midi-chlorian count in the blood, it's been said that the midi-chlorians know who they belong to. Trying to put that in someone else just doesn't work. It's not impossible, I don't think, but it's really, really hard to accomplish. The donor was Baby Yoda, and we see a message from the scientist that we met in season 1 saying that I don't think we should proceed. I mean, it looked good for like 2 weeks, but then it went really bad. None of these are going well. I don't recommend we going forward despite volunteers still wanting wanting to. And so we're left thinking, who's the volunteer? I hope it's Moff Gideon. I hope this is like him being like an Imperial officer outcast who's like, once the new order rises, I want to be in power, so that when they come out here, they're like, oh, Moff Gideon runs out here, we should probably hire him. And he's got the Darksaber, so why wouldn't he want to become Force sensitive? It makes sense, and it's interesting watching people chase power that they don't understand. Another example is the Red Skull. He wanted the serum, he wanted the power that the Doctor could offer, and didn't want to understand how it took to get there, and so he paid the price. And that's all we've seen so far. So things that I'm hoping to see going forward: Ahsoka. I wasn't surprised we didn't see her in episode 4. That was too easy. I wouldn't be surprised if we didn't even see her in episode 5. And we're still waiting for Boba Fett to show back up, because I doubt they're going to introduce him and not use him. I'm hoping that we see Mando question more and more of his belief system. I mean, Bo-Katan asking him if he knew anything about the Jedi and him being like, no, is strange, because Mandalorians straight up had a war with Jedi, and Death Watch was a big part of anti-Jedi, so it's strange that they didn't tell him anything about them when it's such a big part of Mandalore's history. Anyway, guys, there is a lot to think about and a lot to unpack, and I did not have enough time to get into it as much as I would like to, so comment below. Let's talk about these episodes, what you liked, what you didn't like, and I will see you next week. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I appreciate all of the support, and tell your friends, because we're going to continue to grow together. I hope you have a great rest of your week, and I love you 3,000 lovelies. Bye.
Who's that girl?
Who's that girl?
Who's that girl?
Who's that girl?
It's Jordan.
Like and subscribe!
If you want to see me react to the Star Wars The Clone Wars Season 7 trailer, click this video right here. And if you want to see my most recent upload, click right here. Oh, and subscribe while you're at it. Come on, do it, do it, do it.